Hey guys, welcome to tonight's webinar all about homeschooling your teenagers. My name is Crystal Watts from Engaging Minds, and we are coming tonight live with the lovely Nikki Royce. Hey Nikki, thank you for telling me the mic was muted. So Nikki is a homeschooling mum. She began tutoring flute as a teenager and then got her honours degree in teaching diploma. She spent 10 years teaching 11 to 18-year-olds in UK schools before immigrating to New Zealand. She took her own children out of school after the Christchurch earthquakes and has been homeschooling now for 12 years. Her younger daughter has 1 year of schooling left. She is very knowledgeable about the Cambridge curriculum and gaining UE with Cambridge qualifications. Nikki is the admin for the New Zealand Cambridge Home Education Group on Facebook. So tonight I suppose I should introduce myself for those that don't know me too. I'm going to get all tongue-tied, and that's okay. So I am Crystal Watts. Like I said, I've been homeschooling now for 14 years. I have 8 children. We've homeschooled right from the get-go. My husband and I bought Engaging Minds 8 years ago, which is a curriculum education supply business, and we have been running that. We recently went full-time with it in the last year because it has grown that much that we could. So it's our whole world now, education and curriculum and homeschooling. So we will crack on right on to tonight with what we have to do. So why are we doing this? Why are we hosting this? It was Nikki's idea, I have to admit. It was Nikki. It was. We come across the question of teens all the time, why there is a drop-off rate with home education when it comes to teenagers. The numbers tend to decline hugely from about about 11 to 13 onwards. Kids tend to be sent to school. And the question is why? Why aren't more teenagers being able to be homeschooled? And can we support parents to doing so? So that is what these next three nights are all about. Hopefully we can support parents in homeschooling teenagers. I have homeschooled one so far right through, and I've got 2 coming up the ranks, and my stepdaughter came and homeschooled a little bit with us during her high school years as well, so I've got a bit of experience there, and I've certainly supported many parents in homeschooling their teenagers. So Nikki, over to you.
Great. So I have had the honour of being a tutor, a teacher, a regular school parent, a homeschool parent. I've sort of seen everything. And I will say that this 11 to, sort of 10 or 11 to 14, 15-year-old group is really difficult because we are fighting hormones and volatile friendships, and we are trying to set good habits. And at the same time as we're doing all of that, as Crystal said, the numbers for homeschooling start to drop off. And that has been happening since the quakes, and it happened pre-quake as well. And there is this difficulty that happens with this age group. So I really want to set something up for parents where they can start to think about which pathways they're going on, okay? We have to give these kids good habits, and we have to fill holes. And at the same time as that, we're also got to keep in mind where these children are going. So when we were talking about this, we were saying, well, day to day, what does homeschooling look like? And it looks very different for different children, because some children at the age of 11 are still sort of very much feet in the primary curriculum, and some are very much in the intermediate curriculum. And I'm a Cambridge specialist, and I'm going, well, the kids are doing sort of high school stuff, really. If you talk about year 7 for Cambridge, it's actually looking very much like year 9 for New Zealand. So I think parents start to lose, can find it very difficult and lose their footing. And that's partly because everybody starts to pull different ways, because the kids start to show where the holes are, and they start to excel in certain things. I've only got 2 kids. Crystal's got 8. I've got 2. Chalk and cheese. Okay. They've done different subjects. It's been a different feel to it. They've got a different number of subjects. Their pathways are very different. And you will find as the kids, as your kids grow up, and they'll probably have a peer group from homeschooling, is that maybe one will go to high school and then another one will go, well, that was my best friend and I'm going to do something else. And then people that are doing Cambridge might suddenly disappear off because they're on a different pathway. And before you know it, there are very few people around, and your child can get quite lonely. So part of the talk is about how we give you ideas for what you can do to make sure that if you want your child to be homeschooled all the way through, or if you feel that you're not sure about something, you know where to look. Okay, so this is the whole idea of this. I've gathered people together, and it's across platforms. I've advertised it heavily because this is not a Cambridge thing. This is here are lots of different options. Go and explore them so that you have a really good idea of where your child is going. Okay. So less people homeschool, and you've got to find your own path for your family, but you've also got to find it for your own child, and you know that. I know you know that. But you also need to think which curriculum you're going to use and which pathway you're heading, because sometimes parents will go off and use things that their friends use and then go, things are not working. And then I know people that have panicked and go, oh, back to school they go. What's been your experience, Crystal, of the older children and their peer group?
Yeah, to be honest, it's been a lonely journey for my eldest. So there really were only a few kids his own age right through though. So he's a bit of it is different for him. So he really struggled, and the kids that he did get to know went off to school or moved away was the sucky thing. But we are in a small town, so it is different for us. We've got a much smaller pool of homeschoolers to draw on, but that has been a struggle. However, we got him involved in things like sports, so we were blessed that he was actually invited onto the local high school athletics team, so he got to have lots of interaction with that. So it's just a matter of, if you don't have that teenage core group in your homeschool circles, go find it. Get your teenager out doing things, and you essentially create it for yourself.
That's great. So thinking and planning and adapting is really important, okay? Because I will also tell you, having taught thousands of these children, is they will think they are really grown up at age 11 and then realise when they're 14 that they knew nothing. And then they'll change again, and they will keep changing all the way through until they're 18. So 16-year-olds drive, and they think they're really grown up until they find out a year later that all of their ideas have changed. So you have to be really adaptable. I always told my own children that we make a plan, but the plan can change at any point. But we need a direction to be heading in. So there are lots of ways that you can get qualifications and that you can get UE as a homeschooler. You do not have to go to school in order to do all of that. And we're going to have separate talks on things like that. So we're not going to talk a lot in detail about that tonight, but you can do NCEA or through to Curra. You can go to school, you can do Cambridge. You can pay and have an online provider if you want to do that, although it costs quite a lot. They might be starting work, so they might be looking for qualifications which actually enable them to get a job or go into the armed forces. We've got SATs and GED coming up. There's ACE. There are things that universities and work will accept. You just need to know which way you're going, because obviously you can't do all of that. And there are choices that you make from the age of 11 which will make things easier. Okay, so sticking my Cambridge hat on for a moment, people will often come to me sort of age 14, 15 and going, well, I'd like to know about Cambridge, but they've actually gone off, not down the wrong track, but down a different track. So things are more difficult than it had to be because of the choices that they've made. So when they're 11 or 12, I would say start thinking about what they are going to do for qualifications, whether you want them to get UE, whether they actually need qualifications, because maybe they don't. But the choice of curriculum that you use is going to make a difference. Okay. And again, there's a curriculum talk, because there's all of these things, because I've been going, well, it matters if you're using American curriculum or a UK curriculum, because the choices you make can make things easier or more difficult for your child when they get older. Okay. Crystal, anything to add?
Probably not. Well, I guess my experience is I will get customers coming and they've got teenagers, and what do? We need a qualification. It's like, well, what have you been doing? What are your foundations? And the reason we're addressing this age group tonight is because we want parents to know that you do need to start thinking about it a little bit earlier than a lot do. We've got a beautiful window of opportunity with our sort of 11 to 14-year-olds to ensure that they have got the foundation of education that they need. So high school's easy. So high school level qualifications are easy for them if they want to do that path. I've got one that is an apprentice builder. He didn't need any qualifications. So this talk isn't about you have to get your kid qualified. Very much far from it. But it's that we don't want our kids not to be able to get qualified if that's the path they need. We need to be responsible as parents to ensure that our kids have that foundational knowledge. And the time to do that is these young years, those preteen years.
Crystal's disappeared. I don't know if you can hear me. Oh, you're back again.
Oh, no, I can hear you.
Oh, that's fantastic. So 11 to 14 is really important. The other thing I will tell you from teaching in schools is that the children start to notice a lot more about what they can do and what they can't do.
We've lost Nikki. No, we got you.
Okay, maths and English, everybody has to cover, and they will start to realize whether they are slower at reading. They will start to realize what their spelling is like compared to other people, just when they're talking to friends, whether they're homeschool friends or whether they are regular school friends. They will start to sort of talk and go, well, what are you doing? Are you doing calculus? Are you doing algebra? And these things matter because they're trying to work out the sort of the pecking order. So you choose your curriculum, okay? And there are talks about that. Fine, but Crystal mentioned about building a support team. You need to start doing that probably earlier than you think, because with the peer group that my children were in, because we were quite active in the homeschool community in Christchurch, there were a lot of us about. Suddenly at 14, there was, within 6 months, the group had shrunk to about a quarter of the size. And that can floor some children. And they were demanding to go to school because they were lonely and they were very unsure about their own future. So that can be in real life. It can be online. It can be, Crystal was mentioning sports groups and music groups. There are St. John cadets. There are lots and lots of things which can really work well. For my own children, they've actually found community online, which, I was very worried about, because it's that age group and we hear so many dangers about things like that. But actually there are real positives to connecting with other homeschoolers and other people, other children around the Motu, because if they get lonely, it's very difficult. Crystal, do you want to say anything about that? You're muted.
Just that I agree. I am, okay. But I unmuted. This is the first time on this platform, everybody. So if there are a few technical issues, that is why. But I will just interject for a little bit that anybody that is viewing on Facebook or YouTube, please comment. I can see them, and we will get to the questions after we finish, unless it's completely relevant to what we are talking about at the time, and then I'll interrupt with the question. So ask your questions on the YouTube chat. It is coming through to us here.
Great. There are lots and lots of things that you need, and this is coming because my eldest is now 20. There are lots of things that you need to probably think about earlier, and I would say work 2 to 3 years in advance as the parent. And I will also say a lot of parents find that their kids can work quite well and be independent learners. But it's really important, if you want them to get qualifications, that you keep a close eye on everything that is going on, because again, the 11 to 14-year-olds, they like showing what they can do. They are not terribly good usually at going, I'm not good at this, and working at it. Okay. So those curriculums, whatever you decide you are going to use, you need to use something, I know this really sounds obvious, that works for you. Okay. So some people will get a curriculum, and this applies in school. Okay. So in school, we would be given a certain amount of money. We would do all our research, and we would have to buy the books. And if we got it wrong, we were stuck with those books for 5 years, because there was no more money for 5 years. So we had to work very hard to make sure, firstly, that we bought the right books, and secondly, that they worked for the kids. We have a great opportunity as homeschoolers that we can buy curriculum. We can look at curriculum. If you're around other people, just ask and look at curriculum, okay, and find what works for you. But for goodness sake, if something isn't working, sell it and try something else. Because if your child isn't engaged with the curriculum or whatever it is you're using, it's probably not going to get any better, okay? So, cut your losses, move on, try something else, because curriculums can vary really, really widely, okay? You need to be purposeful in it. So you need to, again, agree with your child how it's going to work and what you're going to get done, because that matters. You're trying to set up really great habits for later, okay? So if you are taking exams, those exam dates are immovable, and they have a book and they have to get through it. If they haven't got used to the day and the rhythm of the day and how much work to get done, it's dreadful if they fall behind. So think about it as building great habits, and the great habits come from what you do as a parent, but also from the curriculum, which is why I'm saying make sure that the curriculum works really well for you. Crystal.
Re-emphasize that I've got so many. Actually, I'll reverse. So we've had schooling my eldest son. There was a maths curriculum we were using, and he just got to the point where it just stopped working. It was great. I love it. Still use it now with my other kids, but we actually don't be afraid to pause a curriculum at the same time. So in this particular did not have the brain development to do the next level of math. So we switched it up. We played games. We did not stop, however, we did not stop learning. We just stopped that particular curriculum. And we played math games. We did maths videos, so many board games. But what that did, and it re-emphasized all those things that he had previously learned. It allowed him time to what he had already learnt, and then by the time we picked up the curriculum again, that one lesson that he had spent 3 weeks on that he still didn't understand, he understood it first up, and he was away laughing. So make the curriculum work for you. Don't work for the curriculum. That is one of the things I will say all the time, and I sell it. Yeah, makes sense. I hope so. Over to you, Nikki.
Right. Yeah. How you deal with curriculum is up to you. I will also say that I was very much a unschooly, no curriculum person before with primary school, because I couldn't find any curriculums I liked. So I've sort of done all sorts of bits and pieces. I also don't like spending money. So if people that know me know, if I do particular books, it's like because I really trust that it's right. So some places, I know you know this, but some places you can actually just buy the entire curriculum for for across all the different subjects. But you do not have to do that. You can do some things off the top of your head and use the local environment. You can buy different subjects from different places to make things work, which leads me on to this bit, which is individualized pathways. So one of the benefits that we can do as homeschoolers that they can't do as well in school is you can make sure that the work is tailored to your child. Okay, so whether you've got a gifted child or you've got a child that's got real areas of weakness in spelling or in maths, whatever, or you've got an exceptional musician, sports person, whatever, you can actually put something together for your child that really, really works. So it might be that they're amazing at maths and using a year 9 math curriculum for something, but their English is weak, so they're using a year 7 thing, but that you're making time for, you know, their plan to go to the Olympics, you know, as a gymnast or something like that. You can really, really tailor it and not just have to do a boxed curriculum. So again, it's really difficult to say what the day looks like for a child, because we do have in New Zealand, you know, phenomenal sports people and phenomenal people working particular areas. But I would say that most curriculums will agree that you need to cover maths and English and science. And then with Cambridge, I would go beyond that and go, well, I know at school they're doing social sciences here, but it would get split into history and geography for Cambridge. It would get, you know, you'd be putting your music, art, and possibly your drama in there as well. And you'd be going very wide. Because again, with Cambridge, and I'm not going to talk much about it, but 11 to 14-year-olds are very much having a lot of different things, because then they've chosen that can have 3 years of that. And then they will go on and specialize in certain things and take exams in those. Okay. The difference between Cambridge and New Zealand is very much that those 11, 12-year-olds, maybe 13-year-olds at intermediate school are not getting the level of specialist education from the books that they would be getting under Cambridge. And again, that will be different under ACE, and that will be different for different things, which is why I'm saying you need to think about that. Because if you have already said to your child, excuse me, that you want them to get UE, you have to think about which way they're going to get it. Okay. And if you're doing Cambridge, I would suggest go early. If you're going to do Takura, you need to think about how you are going to get them from where they are now to then. Crystal, can you take over?
I will. There's a couple of questions I will pop in here and answer. So we've got one about Homeschooling New Zealand. They are a fantastic organisation that is essentially, they offer a certificate. So we will talk about more about that within the homeschooling qualification pathways. I haven't used them personally. I used them for about a year, but it didn't fit with my family. It fits for some. They are a Christian provider. They offer a wide range of curriculum options, and you can piece together basically a pathway for your child that then they offer the qualification on. But like I said, we will talk more about that at the qualifications pathway. We've also got one, are there paid curriculum others? So we will talk about that next at 8 o'clock. So that is our talk all about different curriculum options. We can't cover them all. There is just too many, but our hope is to give you a real guideline on what is available essentially, especially within New Zealand. The other question was thoughts on ACE as a diagnostic testing tool. Okay, I'm going to put my personal hat on here. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. This is because it only tests for the ACE curriculum. So we have used it with my eldest son. That was part of using the Homeschool New Zealand. And while it for choosing ACE, where it fell down for us personally is it showed massive holes in his knowledge, but it didn't show because he wasn't using a specific ACE curriculum. So it is wonderful if you are using them, but if you are not, it can show holes where there might not be. So he showed a real lack in grammar, and it put him down at a very low level according to ACE. But we took other diagnostic tools and he was absolutely fine. So diagnostic tools are great, but they are limited like anything. And you have to be aware that it is a diagnostic tool for that particular curriculum. So I hope that answers those questions. Keep them coming. We will keep answering them as we go along. And I've completely lost my train of thought.
That's okay. I'm back. I don't know why. I mean, I'm in the study and it's obviously very dusty because I don't often come in. It's my husband's domain. Right. The thing about the diagnostic tools as well is they are very tailored to whichever version of curriculum you're using. So
yeah,
things are going to change, because we know that in New Zealand they've put on from next year an hour of maths, and they're putting grammar in, and they're putting I believe cursive handwriting back in, things like that. So everything is changing anyway. They're shifted, the sands, you know, the whole, everything is shifting. And diagnostic tests they're great if you stay within a particular curriculum, but people will often say to me, you know, diagnostic tests for Cambridge, and going, well, there aren't any. Which is why I'm sort of going, well, at 11, you can have particular books, and then it will give you information, and it sort of goes through in a sort of spiral-ish way. But there are no diagnostic tests. So you have to know your child, which is why I was sort of going, you still have to be involved in their learning, because you need to sort of
I've got a great example of that one, Nikki. Oh, sorry.
Go.
Sorry, your mic cut out, so I actually thought you had finished speaking, so my apologies for interrupting. But I've actually got a good example of, you have to keep on top of, well, not on top of your children, but you have to be an active and involved parent if you want your children to get the best out of, well, anything, to be honest. It's a good parenting to be actively involved. But I had taught my kids how to print. And I thought they had absolutely beautiful handwriting, and I'm like, sweet, I can kind of lead them to it. And they still did practice, they still did copy work. Now I have a 14-year-old that used to be able to write beautifully and now can't. And we don't know why. We don't know where he went wrong. There was just a time where I had stopped checking that he was forming his letters correctly. And now that he has got to writing in pen, now that he has got to longer pieces of writing and everything like that, he is starting to struggle. So that's where I've now stepped back in and gone, all right, buddy, I'm really sorry, but we've got to go back to copy work. We've got to go back to you practicing those letters and practicing cursive, so then he can have like legible writing. At the moment it's illegible, and that's not a good thing.
So that's sort of the thing that I often think about when it comes to knowing where you're going. Okay, so Cambridge again, sorry, but spelling.
I'll jump into the other ones.
Spelling and grammar, okay, matter for if you're doing Cambridge English, and if you're going to get UE with Cambridge, you have to go on beyond the first exam and do the second one. And so you are putting in the foundations at a very young age, which are going to pay off when they're older. You can either make it easy for yourself or harder. For example, cursive, you have to, cursive is quicker. And it's been proven for Cambridge exams that if you write more, generally you get a higher mark. So it's easier on the hand to write cursive, which means it's something that you can do when you're younger if you choose to do that. And the same with grammar. If you actually understand a bit about how grammar works, you can fix things. Whereas when I've looked at NCEA English for NCEA 3, there are grammatical mistakes that you are allowed to take and still get an excellence in that, which would really drop you down the marks for Cambridge. So that's why I'm saying that the things that you're doing at an earlier age, it feels very foundational, but if you know where you're going, you're doing the right work, and you're actually going to make things so much easier for your child if you do those things at that age. For example, like Crystal and cursive handwriting and all the rest of it. Yeah, some exams they're moving on to online. Okay, Cambridge is not doing that. I know NCA does a lot of things like that, and there are certain exams that are doing that. And again, that's something where you want to keep an eye on it. If your child is 11, if my child was 11 right now, I would be watching every year and going, right, what are they doing online? Is touch typing something that my children should be doing? Okay, because again, if they're going to be doing all their exams on computer, wouldn't it be easier if they touch type? Okay, just little things like that. And that's when, if you join a group, if you're, if you found us here on, you've hopefully come through one of the Facebook groups, and we're going, they're the people that might have got children a little bit further on that can go, hey, this actually made a big difference. Okay, and it might be something very small. It might be the choice between printing and cursive. It might be whether they're hunter pecker on the keyboard, or whether they're touch typing, or whether they're writing in pen or pencil, or whether there's all these things, even down to how they lay their mathematics out, and whether they're doing it linear or whether they're going that way. Okay, because the kids don't quite know when they're growing up what is important and what isn't. Okay, so it's up to you as a parent to go, actually, well, this is important, you need to make sure you do it a particular way. For example, in America, I know that they always underline or put a box around an answer. It's very time consuming. It's just what everybody does there. Whereas here, why would you want to do that? Because it just wastes time. Okay, so it depends what the cultural norm is, and it also depends on the norm for your curriculum as well, which is why I keep going about curriculums. Okay, and all of that, of course, depends on the age of your child, and it all is why we can't easily turn around and go, hey, children of this age are doing this. Okay, because it depends on your peer, your peer group. Crystal.
Well, I'll just jump in with the opposite side of what you've said. Not exactly. I agree with what Nikki has said, but from the other point of view, for my eldest son, we homeschooled him right through. We decided when he was about year 9 that we didn't want to take the academic path with him. We had looked at it. We knew the level that he would need to get get a qualification. And we were like, well, actually, that doesn't fit for where we are right now. But it was a conscious decision. It wasn't we can't be bothered. It was this isn't actually going to work for our family. The workload was too high. We weren't enjoying it. He was stressed. I was stressed. And that wasn't fun. It wasn't fun for the home environment, and it wasn't fun for him and I as mother and son. But we knew what we were heading into. We knew that we could, I could get him on the academic path to take the GED exams. So that is what we chose, that if he needed a qualification when he got to age 17, 18 and older, that was an option for him. So we ensured that we kept him on the curriculums already using. So that was a big tick in the box for us, because we didn't need to change a curriculum. But we knew if we got him to certain levels within those curriculums, that he would have the knowledge he needed to pass the GED exams, or for the fact that he could just use courses through university in the English and math literature studies that are like precursor courses for Polytech that you could do. So he was like, Mum, rather than slogging it out for the next 4 years and getting a certificate at the end of it, I want to do what I want to do. I want to do learning. I want to do building. I want to do life skills. And if I need that qualification at the end of it, I will take those extra 6 to 12 to even 18 months when I'm older at 18 and still be able to get to where I want to go. But it was that conscious decision. So we've also got a couple of questions. So we said it's never too late. It is never, ever, ever too late to start I will
Totally
flick one
agree.
up for you and so how many subjects should we be focusing on for our 11 to 14-year-olds, aside from literacy and math, and what subjects should we really be focusing on? So that will actually get answered in our Keeping Things Broad talk, which is Thursday evening, I believe, and I will answer a little bit about that later on tonight as well. So keep in touch and keep watching, essentially.
Yeah. I will just add as well that I believe in a broad curriculum because I've seen so many kids change their minds. You know, my own kids changed their mind a lot from 11 through to 18, really, really changed their minds. So my eldest went from wanting to go into medicine to mathematics to economics, because these were all things she was really good at, and has wound up doing a BA specializing in animation. Okay. You know, they keep you guessing, and that's great, isn't it? That they love something so much until the next thing comes along and they go, oh, that's really cool. So yeah, you know, it's all about keeping the channels of communication open and keeping things as wide as possible from 11 to 14. And also, how does a child know if they actually like something unless you've given them the opportunity to experience it? They don't know if they like pottery or engineering or whatever unless they've had a go at it. So 11 to 14, it's still in a way sort of similar to primary, but it's in a lot more depth. So you're really strongly building those foundations. Okay, any more questions? Crystal?
Yeah. From, is it Kebby? I apologize if I pronounce anyone's name wrong, by the way. I'm looking at pulling my 12-year-old out of intermediate to start homeschooling. Is this possible to do the change now, or have I left it too late?
No, not left it too late.
No.
You know, even for Cambridge, and I'm going, Cambridge is like a bit more academic, you could still pull them out. The books, there are tutors, there are people around to help. There's people like us who are sort of getting older, you know, and our children are getting older, and we can point you in the right direction. And if things aren't working for whatever reason at school, what have you got to lose? Okay. I wish I'd pulled my kids out earlier. Apart from the fact it would have saved us some money with uniforms and whatever. It's not too late, and there are pathways to be able to get UE if that is the way that you're heading, and it gives them space and thinking time that they don't get at school. Crystal?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's never too late. It does make it, I won't say harder, but I guess it's just a bigger, you'd have a bigger learning curve. So my learning curve when I pulled, my son at 5 never went to school. So that wasn't a big learning curve for me. But going from schooling, being a schooling family, which we never have been, so I haven't got experience on that one. I can't talk into that. I imagine pulling a teenager out or a young teenager out of school would be hard. And just to give yourself so much grace, and give your child so much grace, because it would be a big lifestyle change. I imagine they would miss friends. My stepdaughter did actually come and live with us for a little while and homeschooled, and that was a massive adjustment for her. Missed the routine of school. She was so used to doing things the way they did at school. But of course, us having homeschooled for many years, we didn't do school. It was very, very different learning style than she was used to. So that was a big adjustment for her. But yeah, never too late. Do it. I can't recommend homeschooling enough. It isn't for everyone. But if school is not working for your kid, then you need to put your big parent panties on and do what is right for your kid. Well, it's a hard call. It's a massive hard call to do. And you would know, Nikki. Your kids have did the school and pulled them out of school. So what was your experience with adjusting from school life to homeschool life?
It was just, I was just a different case, I think. But what was interesting is my parents were both teachers, and my parents were both like very much what's going on, and then they've seen what they've been able to do, and the opportunities that we have had through homeschooling have been only what I could have dreamt of as a teacher, because, you know, having taken field trips, you know, to various places for school, I'd be lucky if I could get the kids out maybe once in a year. And in that year, there would be so much paperwork to produce. It would take maybe 3 or 4 months before of paperwork and sorting it out and sorting the bus and getting the money and doing everything else. And the amazing thing about homeschooling is, if we're having a bad day, I would be out. You know, we would be doing art in the field. We would be doing playground physics. We'd be doing just so many things. Excuse me. And I could just go, and there was nobody telling me I couldn't. And kids learn really well when they're not in books. Okay. Sorry, Crystal.
No, that's all right. We've got a good question. Is there a list of tutor groups to help with the Cambridge studies, and how do we access help if we have never tried Cambridge? That is where Nikki comes in. I'll go that way. That is where Nikki comes in. Her Facebook group, all about Cambridge, is absolutely the place to go. I will put a link up here if I can to it. But basically, it is a Facebook group all about Cambridge studies, and it has tutors. Nikki is on there all the time answering questions. It is the place to go if you want to know anything about Cambridge. It is.
Well, don't say that. I do find my daughter as well, but she doesn't need as much help because she's 18 now. But yeah, Cambridge studies. There are books. There are tutors. Past papers are online. You don't actually have to pay anything at all to anybody until you take an exam, which is usually around the age of 16. I've put links up to how much people pay. And sort of how it works, and it's just different. Join the group. You know, I'm the only admin, but I'll let you in. Don't look dodgy there. And just ask questions and see what other people are using, and try and meet up and have a look at books and bits and pieces. Easy. Any more questions, Crystal?
There is one here that says, is Cambridge only for academic kids?
Whew. Okay, Cambridge is for everybody, but there are tricks you sort of do to get them what they need to get. So it depends if you're heading for UE or you just want to have qualifications to go, look what I've got. But there are ways. So, for example, with mathematics, there are different maths things you can do, but if you have somebody who doesn't like maths, then they can just do what's called the core maths, which is 2 papers, and they are shorter and easier than what's called extended. Okay, and they make it's quite a different flavour to NCEA. You don't have to put your answer in a sentence, you know, things like that, and it's much more practical maths that you are going to need for your life, rather than anything else. You can look at past papers online. Everything's free. Join the site, and I've put all the links at the top so you can have a look at it all. But no, so for maths and English, they're fairly straightforward. And there are other IGCSEs which are really straightforward if you have a sort of that sounds wrong to say non-academic kid. It's really good at sorting out like your top A-star students, but also there is room in there if you're going, well, they're not going to be doing that, but it will still give them a really good foundation for everything they're going to need. Just get on there, ask me. I'll write to you and tell you. Not a problem. Crystal.
Yep. There is another one here. So, diagnostic tools would you recommend? This is a tricky question, to be honest. So we'll put my business hat on for a second. So we will get people calling us saying, where do I put my aged whatever student? And it isn't, there's no right answer here, because with homeschooling, one of the beautiful things about homeschooling is you put your student where they are at. It actually doesn't matter how old they are. It doesn't matter what year they are in at school. You should be teaching them where they are at academically. So there isn't one overall diagnostic tool. I actually really dislike the tools that the schools use because it only tests this much knowledge. for what kids have. It disregards all life knowledge that kids have. So I'm really sorry. The answer is there isn't one. If you choose particular curriculums will have placement tools, however. So when you find a curriculum that you like, and we will be talking more specifically about curriculum at 8:15, hopefully, if we're all on time. Most of them will have placement tools, so you can still place your child where they are. That we sell through Engaging Minds actually doesn't have year levels or doesn't have books that go in order, but not specific for specific years. You actually just place your child where they are at, and a lot of books will cover a multitude of grades in year levels and abilities anyway. So, yeah. Yeah. Sorry for not a direct answer.
Yeah. There are a couple of online tools for primary school that are free, like BERT reading test. So if you just particularly want to know if you've got like a 10 or 11-year-old and you're pulling them out of school and you just go, well, where are they at? There are things that you can do that are sort of general ones that are free. Told you I like free things online, okay, that you can do. Obviously, we're trying to sort of keep this quite a general talk. So if you are interested in sort of pathways for UE and qualifications, come to that talk. If you want to know specifically about curriculum choices, come to the one at 8:15. So we've tried to, this is sort of a general thing. And then have a look at which ones you're interested in. And then we're doing a panel with everybody for just questions on the Friday. Because we're aware that we're dealing with people who have been homeschooling for years, and we've got people here as well who I know are coming in and sort of going, I'm thinking of pulling my child out, I'm a bit freaked out and I don't know what I'm going to do, and starting from scratch. So this is just look, we are just ordinary people. Okay, we were like you. It's perfectly doable. And I will go and, hey, look, my child has gone off to university and got a scholarship as well through Cambridge, through her Cambridge results. It's all possible, okay? And there are good people around that can help you. And what's if it all goes wrong, just back to school they go if they were at school. I would say the biggest thing about homeschooling is that they need a peer group, and you need support as a parent. Okay, you will need support,
Yeah.
and that you need to carefully consider, because you're suddenly in a funny role of parent or grandparent or whoever you are, and teacher, tutor, come alongside person, because a lot of parents go, well, I can't teach up to the age of 16. I go, well, you're not doing the teaching. You at that point, the book and the YouTube resources, and you are moving alongside and going, hey, if you're stuck, let me know and I will find you a tutor. I will find the answer for you. You do not have to do that. Goodness sake, if I can actually help my child get through physics at the age of 16 and I know nothing about physics, okay, anybody can do anything. And the same with economics, okay, A-level economics, age of 18, she got an A, okay, great. I know quite a lot about economics and the OCR and things like that now, because there are books and because there are people around to be able to help you. And that's what all this is about. Okay, this is about trying to give you the information and going, look, you can do this. People will think you're a bit nutty because homeschooling is still quite a fringe thing. Okay, but there are more and more people out there homeschooling now for a variety of different reasons. Okay, and with going 11 to 14, you need to be thinking sensibly, sensible hat on as a parent as to which way your child is going, what field they might go into, whether they're going to need UE, and where to get the information, which is what this is about. Crystal.
Yep, I guess I was just going to talk a little bit about what my day-to-day looks like with my teenagers. So my 19-year-old is now full-time working. He's apprentice builder, but he's still at home. So we succeeded in getting him what he wanted to do. My 13-year-old at home as well. And essentially they are fairly independent learners. Our day starts with chores. because I have a big family, I cannot do it all myself. So my kids help me around the house, and they are learning how to do life at the same time. So we will get the house tidy, we will get it sorted. We've got our chore list. I can talk more about that another day. And honestly, they crack on with their schoolwork come around 9ish when breakfast and chores and our day has started. They are independent. I have chosen, because I have a lot of children, we're a large family. For me, I have chosen video lessons. So a lot of a couple of our curriculum that we have chosen our videos. So that means my kids are independent from me, so they can crack on with their maths. They don't need mum there beside them. Couple of times a week we'll do English. We actually do that now as a family unit, so you can also teach multiple kids across multiple ages at the same time. So the major difference between homeschool curriculum and school curriculum is that it is way more flexible to teach across a multitude of age ranges. So at the moment, I'm teaching science and English to an 8-year-old and 14-year-old, or 8, 11, 13 and 14-year-old all at the same time.
Okay, and Teach Talk for that
it's working and it's succeeding. So even if you have more than one child, you can do it. And our day, we do about a 4-hour school day personally. The kids are generally done with academic work come lunchtime. Then we do what we want to do. We do I call it the non-academic schoolwork. The ones that don't have the box curriculum. So my kids will be playing board games. They'll be out playing sports. They will be, my 14-year-old loves stop motion. So he will do stop motion. My kids love to read. They're massive bookworms, so they will spend the afternoon in the winter. They'll spend the afternoon curled up reading the books. So it's not all about curriculum. Curriculum is only a small part of it. You got the massive flexibility of doing life with your kids. We will go out as family. We will learn life stuff. One of the biggest things with my 19-year-old was actually getting him doing life. So as he got older, when academics had kind of wrapped up for him, he wasn't getting a lot out of his academics, once he sort of hit about 16. He just wasn't enjoying it. So I'm like, all right, you still actively doing something positive. You can't just sift all day long. So we got him doing a first aid course. We got him doing voluntary work. We got him doing his Duke of Edinburgh Award, which gave him focus. And he did sports. He did all sorts of bits and pieces. So this is more than just curriculum. You don't have to. Curriculum is good, especially for your core subjects, but you don't necessarily. It's not the be all and end all. You can teach kids through life as well. So
and again, that is very much this age is sort of like they're heading off down different paths. So I was just about to say, you can do things for different ages. In Teach Talk, we call it differentiate by outcome. So they might all be doing the same thing, but your older child is picking up on a different level from your younger child. So it has got like proper names for it and everything. So I'm just keeping an eye on the time. So
yes.
There's yeah, because it's like I know you're back on again at 2:15. So I was just looking at questions. If a child has 2 years of NCEA studies, could they choose to do Cambridge to do UE? Yes. Yes, they can. Is it good to switch? Depends. Is NCEA working for your child? Is school working for your child? If not, you can always swap to Cambridge. But obviously you need to sort of be careful, because if you're going to do Cambridge, you've really got to, if they definitely want UE, then obviously you've got to like jump in with both feet and really go for it, because it would be very difficult to do Cambridge and then go back to NCEA, because then they'd be missing credits from internals, things like that. So that depends on your circumstances. Jump on the Cambridge page, DM me. Okay, we'll chat. Any other questions we want to do before we run out of time?
There's a good one. So you got about 3 minutes to fire questions through, peoples.
Okay, are New Zealand employers familiar with Cambridge, or do they prefer NCA? I'm not an employer. I know the employer that that I'm friends with, they don't really understand NCA. They're very clever, but they don't really understand NCA. They quite liked Cambridge because it told them exactly what subjects they'd actually got. Because for Cambridge, you get qualifications in individual subjects. You don't put them all together and go, hey, I passed Cambridge. You go, hey, I got English grade such and such, maths grade such and such. That's how it works. Crystal?
Yeah, well, for our experience, it actually didn't matter. So my son didn't have any official qualification whatsoever. So and what he had achieved in outside of academics that actually got him his building apprenticeship. So what happened with us is he was known around town for his voluntary work. He had done a paper run and worn the same hat for years. I'm talking sort of 5-6 years. So people around town knew him. He was known through his athletics that he was doing as well. So his current employer actually knew a lot of people within the community that knew him. So it was his reputation essentially and his character that got him the job. It was nothing to do with a qualification whatsoever. We talked about what he had studied and if he had the relative knowledge, but qualifications never came up. And just experience, I know that what employers are looking for is ingenuity, is character of person, stuff you can't teach from academics. Ingenuity is a huge one that people aren't going to stand there and say, oh, well, the job I got told to be done is finished now, so I'm just going to sit. Rather than kids with ingenuity and will go out and look for more work because they are in paid employment, they should be working. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so it looks like our audio's not very good and your audio's not very good for me. So I'm sorry if it's glitchy, guys. I don't know what to do about that other than plugging my laptop in. Anyway. I've got... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we're going to have to finish there.